In today's episode, we are exploring a tragedy that shook a community. Geetha Angara's mysterious disappearance and death at a water treatment plant in New Jersey. It was February 18th, 2005, a crisp morning in Tatowa, New Jersey. Geetha Angara, a dedicated senior chemist at the Passaic Valley Water Commission, started her day like any other. She arrived at work at 7:30 a.m., ready to tackle the day's challenges. Born in 1961 in Chennai, India, Geetha Angara earned bachelor's and master's degrees in chemistry from Loyola College, Chennai, the first woman in the school's history to do so. She finished top of her class, earned a gold medal for her efforts. In 1984, she immigrated to the United States, where she earned additional master's degrees and a doctorate in organic chemistry from New York University. At work, Geetha was well respected among her colleagues. She was intelligent, hardworking, and a loving mother to her three children. On that particular day, after her first shift, she enjoyed breakfast with her co-workers, an ordinary start to what would become an extraordinarily tragic day. Later that morning, a subordinate informed Geetha that the plant's filter and clarity sensors needed calibration. This task had to be done manually, and despite being scheduled for a meeting until 10:30 that morning in a different part of the plant, she decided to check on the sensors herself. With her clipboard, beaker, and a two-way radio in hand, she left the workstation right after 10:30 a.m. The task was to take no more than 30 minutes. She had done it countless times before, so she knew the routine. But then 11 a.m. came and went without Geetha returning to her desk. Some of her co-workers thought that it was strange and even mentioned it to the rest of the team. The sandwiches she had packed for lunch remained untouched on her desk, a stark reminder of her sudden absence. Geetha was punctual by nature. If she said she would be back in half an hour, she made sure to be there. Everyone who worked with her found it strange that she had just vanished without letting anyone know, which had never happened before. I find it a little strange none of them thought to look for her. This to me shows that yes, she was a respected member of the team, but no one truly cared enough to make sure that she was okay. No one went after her to find out what was going on. As most of her colleagues got ready to go home at the end of that day, Geetha had still not made an appearance. When she failed to pick up her daughter for her basketball practice that evening, her family raised alarm. Back at the office, nighttime security noticed that Geetha's car was still in the parking lot. Her coat and purse left behind alongside her uneaten lunch. A call was made to her co-workers to see if anyone had any information. Some of them returned to help search the facility. By midnight, Geetha had been reported missing to the police. A frantic search ensued, and as investigators combed through the plant, they made a chilling discovery. In the basement, where the water tanks were located, one of the 50-pound aluminum floor panels, which served as the opening to the million-gallon water tanks below, was slightly out of place. For safety reasons, these panels were always secured tightly. So why was it left open? On closer inspection, the panel screws were broken. Some were completely missing. Next to the open panel, they found shards of broken glass, possibly from the beaker Geetha had taken with her. Unfortunately, no one thought it was important to preserve this crucial piece of evidence, and it was discarded. Considering it was Geetha's last known location, the broken floor panel was bad news. Had she fallen into the tanks below? There was only one way to find out. They had to drain the tanks. a process that took hours. When the first tank was emptied, they found her clipboard and the two-way radio she had with her at the bottom. At this point, everyone present knew that the dark waters of the tank below held no hope. The tanks were deep, with a 5-foot gap between the water surface and the opening, and once submerged, it was pitch black. There was no ladder one could use to climb up. If she had fallen in, the chances of survival were slim to none, especially with the freezing temperature of the water. As expected, on February 19th at 6:30 p.m., Geetha's body was found in a different tank known as the Clear Well. An autopsy revealed she had drowned. But it also uncovered deep bruises on her neck and what looked like signs of struggle on other parts of her body. There was also water found in her lungs, leading them to believe that she had been alive when she entered the water. So the investigators concluded that the case was to be treated as a homicide. A theory began to form. Someone must have incapacitated her and then callously pushed her off into the tank. To add to the mystery, an alarm system that should have detected the significant weight change in the water was conveniently non-functional, as well as the cameras that were supposed to be in that part of the basement. This location was isolated enough for a perpetrator or perpetrators to slip away without being detected. Another huge disadvantage in this case was that the water in the tank was heavily treated with chlorine, which eliminated any DNA Geetha might have had on her person. Investigators faced a daunting task of trying to piece together the events that led to the tragedy. The facility itself was secure. Every person who entered had to check in at a staffed security post. They had over 83 potential suspects, all of them employees of the plant. As detectives combed through the staff records, they discovered not everyone liked Geetha as they had initially thought. Her recent promotion had not been well received, and whispers of racial tension permeated the atmosphere. Geetha was one of the few non-white individuals in a high-ranking position, and there were rumblings about resentment among some of her co-workers. Still, the investigation failed to establish any direct link between the office politics and her death. As the detectives dug deeper, they found evidence suggesting her death might have been the result of an impulsive attack rather than a premeditated one. A disagreement that escalated, or perhaps Geetha stumbled upon something she shouldn't have. Either way, there was very little evidence or information to go on. With what little information they had, detectives focused on 3 key suspects, including the co-worker who had first noticed Geetha's absence. Each one of them was asked to take a lie detector test with mixed results. One of them passed, another's results were inconclusive, and the third one refused to take the test altogether. With no clear motive and no DNA evidence, the investigation stalled. And as I said before, the plant's environment had washed away crucial forensic clues. And during the search for Geetha, they had failed to take precautions which had compromised the crime scene, wiping away what little evidence they could have found in the basement. By 2006, no new leads had emerged. Geetha's family, devastated by the loss, continued to push for justice, even trying to revive the case multiple times. Then, 10 years after her death, a new theory came to light. The police suggested that Geetha's death might not have been a homicide after all. The bruisings on her neck that led them to believe that there might have been foul play involved could have resulted from her struggles in the icy water as she fought to stay afloat. This new theory was a result of research by a Scottish forensic pathologist, Derek Pounder. He suggested that certain drowning cases could mimic signs of strangulation. This new perspective led the authorities to consider negligence, attributing her tragic fall to an accidentally left open access panel as the cause of her death. This new development left Geetha's family with more questions than answers. Sadly, they had to come to terms with the reality that they might never know what truly happened to Geetha. Geetha Angara's case remains a haunting mystery, a blend of workplace tension, racial dynamics, and an unspeakable tragedy for her family. They continue to seek closure, but with time, everyone around has moved on. And for the family, the answers seem to slip further and further away. If you have any thoughts or theories about Geetha's case, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, stay safe and keep seeking the truth.